out from hundreds of other students from across the state competing for the very same seats. The performing students went on to represent Parkway well in their respective concerts, which were performed for the Missouri Music Educators Conference before an appreciative audience of music educators, administrators, and parents. These Parkway students have demonstrated the very highest level of musical competency and have shown a personal commitment to artistic excellence. I'd like to thank their music teachers for motivating, nurturing, and guiding these students into the skilled and accomplished musicians they are today. And of course, I'd like to thank their parents for their continued support along the way. I'll now introduce this year's All-State Music Students by ensemble that they were selected for. Just a side note, we have a very, very active music department, and we have many students that are here tonight, but we're also missing students because they're in musical rehearsals, or they are preparing solo ensemble, or preparing for the next thing. So as I call your name, I'm going to ask the students to come up, be greeted by the Board of Education, and congratulated for your success. And then if the audience will hold their applause to the end of each group, we can get through this a little faster because we have 36 names. So here we go. Starting with our All-State Jazz Band and All-State Band. Honorable mention, tenor saxophone, Central High, Zach Bonnet. And if you're here, just come on up. All-State Baritone from South High, Tyler Ng. Honorable mention, flute from South High, Ella Mitaksov. All-State Flute from South High, Haley Parks. All-State Clarinet from West High, Andrew Song. Alternate Flute from Central High, Samantha Taylor. All-State Alto Saxophone from Central High, Hannah Wolkowitz. And honorable mention, French Horn, West High, Nathan Zhao. Moving on to our All-State Choir, we have alternate bass from North High, Parker Cole. Alternate bass from North High, Sean Crawford. All-State tenor from West High, Andrew Gwynn. Honorable mention tenor from Central High, Ted Harrell. All-State alto from Central High, Gina Hua. All-State bass from North High, Eli Jones. I'm sorry. Honorable mention, alto, North High, Deanna Carrington. Honorable mention, tenor from West High, Harsh Mahapatra. Honorable mention, soprano, Central High, Sarah Mall. All-State tenor, Central High, Paige Poromsik. All-State bass from South High, Ethan Schaeferketter. All-State alto from West High, Carly Strauss. Honorable mention alto from Central High, Amaya Taylor. All-State soprano from North High, Evelyn Votrid. And All-State alto from South High, Isabel Urin. And finally, our All-State Orchestra students. We had All-State Violin 2 from Central High, Angel An. All-State Cello from West High, Akul Banjari. All-State Bass from West High, Anushka Dharmasanam. All-State Viola from Central High, Marcy Heimberger. All-State Violin from West High, Felicity Jackson. All-State Viola from Central High, Tarni Karnati. All-State Violin from Central High, Asher Ko. All-State Violin 1 from Central High, Grace Lee. All-State Cello from Central High, Rachel Lee. All-State Violin 1 from Central High, Aiden Moon. All-State Bass from West High, Eric Oswald. All-State Viola from South High Reese Rich, and All-State Violin from West High Alan Song. Before I go, I'd also like to acknowledge the music teachers of these students who are here tonight by having them stand and be recognized. Thank you, and again, congratulations to our 2003 Parkway All-State Music students.
Next, please welcome Dr. Tiffany Holman-Best, Deputy Superintendent, to introduce us to the 5 Central High students who performed in G's Bend play.
Good evening. I'm going to ask Ms. Nicole Voss to come join me at the podium. Parkway has a rich tradition of celebrating authenticity of our community. Throughout the year, you will find our schools and community hosting many events to celebrate culture and diversity. Earlier this month, Parkway Central High School's theater department, under the direction of Ms. Nicole Voss, presented G's Bend by Elizabeth Gregory Wilder to kick off their Black History Month celebrations. The play, G's Bend, spans more than 60 years and 3 generations of Black women and embraces their stories of joy and heartbreak. Inspired by the true stories of the Petway women of G's Bend, Alabama, this is a deeply personal story of family, self-discovery, and artistic expression. Let's take a moment and see a clip from the play.
I've been walking with my face turned to the sun. Weight on my shoulder, bullet in my gun.
Oh, I got eyes in the back of my head, just in case I have to run. I do what I can, while I care for my people. While the clouds roll back and the stars fill the night.
God bless G's Bend. I had a dream, a vision that's come to me more than 3 nights now. The story passed down from my great-granddaddy, the move of 1845. Mr. Petway, the man who owned us, he moved his slaves all the way from North Carolina to here, but told my granddaddy he was too young to make the trip, wanted to leave him behind. But his mama wrapped him up in a quilt, sewed him into the bed ticking, and hid him up in the wagon. Except in my dream, it was me wrapped up in the quilt, wrapped up so you couldn't breathe, couldn't see. They picked me up, still wrapped like the baby Moses, and placed me in the river. The river carried me away, floating like.
That's when I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home. Far across the river, you hear freedom calling, calling me to rest. I'm gonna keep on keeping on.
I can feel it in my bones.
I've been scared of that river my entire life. It's a mighty river, a dark river that'll eat you up, you don't respect it. A river that'll keep you safe if you do. Protect you from what's on the other side. Except today, it was different. Different because I wasn't scared. I just closed my eyes and let myself float. Pray that you would keep me safe. Ask that you would bring me the meaning.
That's when I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home. Far across the river, you hear freedom calling, calling me to rest. I'm gonna keep on keeping on. I can feel it in my bones.
We are excited to announce that G's Bend was also selected to perform at the Missouri State Thespian Conference. Please help us celebrate our performance and accomplishments of their storytelling of G's Bend. For our students who are present, we'd ask you to come up when your name is called. Kiera Anderson Pittman. Rayla Green. Chris Robinson. Sophia Randolph. And Jordan Williams.
So I just wanted to say thank you to the board for acknowledging and having us here tonight. This play meant a lot to myself. It was an experience for myself going through this with these students. I think we grew together, the six of us, throughout this whole experience. And I think that the performance itself, performing in front of 1,500 people at the state conference, was extraordinary, and that was one of a kind of experience. And I think then performing in front of their peers at Central High was a totally different experience and phenomenal as well. And I think that everybody took something different from watching this performance, very personal, I believe. And I think the story itself, you know, there's more than just the Rosa Parks story that I think everybody hears all the time. And there's so much to, you know, civil rights and the voting and racial discrimination and hatred and segregation and biasism. And there's so much out there, and there's so much that affected our country throughout the years and still is. And we have to tell the stories that affected all parts of our country. And so many people don't know about G's Bend. It's a true story. And these women were fighters and strong women who succeeded in overcoming so much. And it's important to tell their story as well as many other stories. And as I told our audiences at Central, if there's anything that we learn from this play is that we all try to find the strength in this main character, in Sadie. We find the strength and fight the fight, big or small, it doesn't matter, but that we believe in ourselves and we believe in the fight, and we continue on. So again, thank you for having us, and thank you to the board.
Next, I would like to invite Amy Boskin, Coordinator of Career and Technical Education, Global Studies, and World Languages, to the podium to introduce our international exchange students and to announce the winners of the FACS Cooking Challenge.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Marty, Mr. Todd, Ms. Stover, and board members. We really appreciate you having us here tonight to recognize two of the amazing programs that we have in Parkway that I support. The first we're going to start with is our International Exchange Student Program. The Parkway School District actively promotes international understanding, global awareness among young people from this country and from countries other than ours by hosting students and sending our students abroad. It has been said that relationships are the thread that build community. When you take that to a global scale by encouraging young leaders to foster these connections, you enhance the learning environment and build lifelong bonds and lasting friendships. This year, Parkway is hosting 18 exchange students from 10 different countries. Students, I'm going to call your names to recognize you. If your host family could also stand so we could recognize them as well. And audience, if you can hold your applause until the end. Students, when your name is called, you're also going to come and shake hands with our board. We're going to start with Kashish Yadav, who is from India and hosted by the Finan family. Next, we have Benji Adejo, who is from Nigeria and hosted by the Cameron family. Next, we have Alessandro Mateos Avione, who is from Spain and hosted by the Finan family also. Next, we have Sofia Franca Pereira from Brazil, and she is hosted by the Lamb family. We have Johan Mortensen from Denmark, hosted by Barb Goldman. Max Schramm from Germany, hosted by the Zera family. Charles Lilou from France, hosted by the Tartar family. Samuel Placer-Fry from Spain, hosted by the Lorenz family. Joshua Tapkin from Germany, hosted by the Pincard family. Cecile Walters from Germany, hosted by the McKinley Leonelli family. Sharon Lee Oedeker from Switzerland, hosted by the Minoy family. Lena Seidenstrucker from Germany, hosted by the Mearley family. Ona Kadafich Palak from Spain, hosted by the Brandt family. Pascal Kunze from Switzerland, hosted by the Rutherford family. Nila Worm from Germany, hosted by the Brown family. Arnie Seifert from Germany, hosted by the Espendola family. Lambertus Kapman from the Netherlands, hosted by the Patton family. And Nur Falal Akila Rahim from Malaysia, hosted by the Harappa family. Can we give all these students just a round of applause? Yes, I'm there. I just want to say a thank you to our students. Some of you I've met and some of you I just met this evening, but thank you for taking the risk to come to the United States, to come to our district, and to really share your culture with our students, our staff, and our community. We are growing and becoming a better community because of you, and also because of your families. So if you are hosting a student, we know that this is really fun and exciting, but it also is, with a lot of ups and downs and learning curves and those things. And we are just so thankful that you are willing to open your home to students from another country and embed them in the Parkway community. So if you are a host family, please stand up so we can recognize you. And then the last group I want to recognize is our international exchange program partners. We partner with about 10 vetted exchange partners. And if you are here from one of those organizations, if you could also please stand so we could recognize you. We have AFS, YFU, CIEE, Education First, CET USA. That's it. Thank you so much. Sid Finan, wonderful. We are going to now go on to another portion of my very long job, which is our culinary competition, and really just an awesome opportunity for our students to practice real-world transfer within and outside of the classroom. And so if you turn on any TV show, YouTube channel, social media, you'll know that food culture is everywhere. It has been said that food warms the heart and feeds the soul. And the reason why is because food and cooking is a combination of science, psychology, and culinary and business savviness. These skills put together help our students learn how to make the perfect dish and go on to prepare food for those they love and care for. Tonight, these dishes for our sweet and savory cooking competition were a custom taco and a custom cookie. Before we recognize the winners and the students, I would just like to have our teachers who have really brought this competition back post-COVID, because this is a lot of work and extra time for them, and they do such a good job. So if Katie Hashley, Becky Samarjic, Evelyn Petty, and Hillary Graybo can just wave or give us a little hey, thank you to them. So the board got to taste tacos from each of the high school teams and cookies from each of the high school teams. Students, we're going to have you come up also and shake the board members' hands, which I realize there's a lot of you, so we'll go with the winning teams and then the second two teams. So the winner of the taco competition was the Korean taco from North High. You guys, come on down. It was amazing. I had it too. I knew the recipe. And then the winner of our cookie competition was the Pink Velvet Cookie from South High. If all of our other kitchens from West and Central High could also come down and shake hands of the board member, that would be great. Come on down, West and Central too. This competition we had been doing in 2018 and 19, and 2019 was the last time that we had the competition. So a big thank you to the Board of Education and from the support of our Superintendent's Action Team in order to make these events possible. Thank you again for this opportunity. Thank you to our students, and have a good night.
Thank you once again to all of our students, their parents, families, for being here tonight and for helping us recognize these amazing students. You have some amazing kids in the district, and we're so proud of them. I hope you are too. Right now, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll resume the meeting shortly. Nobody's missing. We're all here. All right, we're going to continue our meeting here. I know a few of you are visiting, and we would ask that we just keep the conversations just outside the door. That'd be great. Next up on our agenda is the list of additions, corrections, and/or modifications to the agenda. Those include 7.01, addition to agenda item 11.25, approval of the gymnasium floor replacement at South High and the bleacher and gymnasium floor replacement at West Middle. 7.02, copy of service agreement added to agenda item 11.16, approval of purchase of custodial services. And 7.03, addendum to agenda item 11.10, approval of personnel items. Next up, we have public comments. It's during this time that we provide an opportunity for citizen comments in an effort to maintain an open and respectful dialogue with our community. The public comment session is not the appropriate forum for addressing individually identifiable student and/or personnel matters. Therefore, due to privacy laws protecting students and employees, comments about these matters should not include personally identifiable information about particular students or employees. Members of the public, staff, and students are encouraged to utilize established policies and procedures for offering suggestions or addressing concerns and complaints prior to bringing the issue before the board. Please be mindful that the meetings of the board, including your statements at the podium, are broadcast and that you are responsible for any public comments you make. In lieu of a public comment, you may choose to submit your comments to the board in writing. Also, due to the time constraints and the need to complete the primary responsibilities of our meeting agenda, we cannot respond during the meeting, so you will receive a response from us in writing. We're always available to have an open dialogue outside of our meetings and can be reached by email or phone using our contact information on the Parkway website. Tonight we have 5 speakers, and each of you will have 3 minutes. During that time, I would just ask that you introduce yourself and let us know your affiliation or association with Parkway, and I will call you in the order in which you signed up. So first, we have Julie Wyatt.
Good evening, and thank you for all your time and commitment to our district. My name is Julie Wyatt, and I'm the parent of a West High grad and 3 more students currently attending West Middle. I've been actively involved in Parkway as a volunteer and work to create community within each school my children have attended. One of my girls has dyslexia, which was not discovered until 5th grade. Through my own research and in connecting with others, I am finding out how common this diagnosis is. 20% of people have dyslexia, and it's not at all what I thought it was. It's not inverting letters or reading things backwards, and you were born with it. In very layman's terms, the dyslexic brain chooses a long and winding road to read, while a typically developing brain would be like a highway. Dyslexia is a medical condition, but it can be helped with the proper instruction on how to read. Something else I'm finding to be common is the response parents find when their child struggles in reading. And it's usually met with, "Let's wait and see," or "It's early, give it time." A child with dyslexia doesn't have time to wait and see, though. The best time to deliver an evidence-based instruction is by 2nd grade. I do not feel Parkway's current reading program or reading intervention program are sufficient in helping a struggling reader. Wait to see turns into wait to fail. Nothing in that process speaks to Parkway's mission statement of ensuring all students are capable, curious, caring, and confident learners who understand and respond to the challenges in an ever-changing world. While my child is not failing, the system in place failed to meet her needs with the best outcome as a goal. Identifying her needs early would have addressed the struggles in elementary school. I am now faced with her first true instruction in 6th and 7th grade, and it absolutely is negatively affecting her emotional well-being. A child who cannot read will not be capable, will lose curiosity, will not care, and most certainly will not be a confident learner, and overall will not be prepared to meet the challenges of an ever-changing world. As the district begins to review new recommendations of the state, we hope to partner with them to find a resource that will benefit all students. We ask for the board's attention and support to make Parkway's students readers for life. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up, we have Nadia May.
My name is Nadia May, and I'm a parent of 3 children. My oldest is a 5th grader at Highcroft Ridge Elementary. My youngest is an incoming kindergartner. My middle child is a 2nd grader who now attends Churchill, a private school in St. Louis for children with learning disabilities. Our journey to Churchill was not an easy one. I am on the executive board of Highcroft's PSO because we love our school and our community there. We are invested. Yet we had to leave the community we love because my daughter wasn't getting the support she needed. I've known that our daughter had a learning disability by the time she was 2 years old, and since then I have been fiercely advocating on her behalf. Despite help she received by the district and SSD, by the end of 1st grade, my daughter was more than a grade level behind her peers. After 5 years of fighting to get my daughter the help that she needed, we couldn't continue to travel down the same road expecting different results. Our daughter is finally in a place where she is thriving with the instruction given. Statistics recently given at Parkway's State of the District, we know only 71% of our K through 2nd graders are reading text at or above grade level. Of our 7 board members represented here with us tonight, which 2 of you are okay with not being able to read accurately or proficiently? Which 2 of you are willing to take your so-so reading skills and try to get a successful job with benefits for your family? Most importantly, which 2 of you are willing to let your child struggle to read while listening to the tears and frustration, or listening with tears and frustration? I couldn't anymore, which is why we chose a different path. I can't imagine that anyone here that works to make Parkway the best that it can be is okay with only some of our readers being successful. We are fortunate to be able to send our daughter to Churchill, but most are not. What is equitable would be to provide a resource that teaches to all children, not a resource that would only teach to some. My struggling child doesn't even attend a Parkway school anymore, but it is important to me that we do better for those who are still there and those that will come after. Parkway has the people resources, funding, and advocates for change to make this happen. What we don't have are the correct resources to teach our children, our students, how to be successful readers. The podcast, Sold a Story, which talks about the historical approach to reading and how it may be the root of our national literacy challenges, was incredibly validating for me because my experiences within Parkway was identical to some of the experiences shared. Verbatim words spoken in this podcast were mine before I knew reading was a national issue, before I knew this was a Parkway issue. Please listen to this podcast and give our kids a reading resource that is research and science-based with explicit instruction that supports all readers. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up is Aaron Lamb.
Good evening, Dr. Marty, Board of Education, Administration, and community members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Erin Lamb. I have 2 daughters, one at West Middle and one that was in 4th grade previously at Mason Ridge. As most parents, I completely trusted that what was happening within the walls of the school was absolutely the best for my child. And knowing that when I was in Parkway meant that they were getting the best of the best, obviously. I adored the teachers and administrators at Mason Ridge, so much so that I spent a good part of my days volunteering at the school, planning events, and running the book fair. I come here today to advocate for children just like my 10-year-old. Extremely bright, a problem solver, a wonderful friend, and a struggling reader. I saw signs early. She regressed in her letter and sound knowledge in kindergarten from the beginning to the end. Then her reading and writing were not on par with her sister's reading and writing in the 1st grade. Over and over, I was told, oh, she's so sweet, she's so kind, we all love her, she'll catch it, she'll get it together. Then the pandemic hit at the end of 1st grade. We made the choice to do virtual school in the 2nd grade and hired an outside tutor for reading and writing support. Immediately, she identified that our child had a reading deficiency and that she needed to be tested immediately. I was really terrified for my child. I had trusted for 3 years that if something was wrong, someone would have told me at that point. I immediately started absorbing any literacy information that I could get my hands on, and we were blessed to be able to provide Sydney with the best possible resources in the area. What brings me here today, though, and what breaks my heart, is that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of children in this district that struggle with reading and writing today, and they don't have the voice or the resources or the transportation or the time to get the attention outside of their school. During my research, I learned about Sold the Story podcast, as you've heard about tonight. It's an investigative review of the reading and writing systems that have infiltrated our school systems and locked us into a program that only works for some of our students. Only 71% of our youngest learners in this district are reading at or above grade level, and far less proficient going up from 3rd to 8th grade, according to the MAP testings. This problem is getting worse as the children get older. They're not just getting it. I humbly ask that everyone take the time over the next month to listen to Sold a Story podcast. It's an easy listen. You can listen on your commute. You can listen to it on the treadmill. You can listen to it while you're doing dishes. I hope you find it enlightening, and I hope you find yourself to be shocked and angered and outraged for the students that have been subjected to these resources over the last 20 plus years. You as a board may not have been around when the decisions about the curriculum were originally made, but you are certainly in a position to make a change now. A big, bold change that could set us apart from other districts. A big, bold change that could set us apart as a literacy giant in this community. A big, bold change that could provide resources to all of our children so that they all have the best chance at a successful life. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Sarah Dull.
Dr. Marty, Mr. Todd, and board members, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. My name is Sarah Dull. I am an elementary school teacher turned stay-at-home mom to 3 boys. My oldest is a freshman at West High, and our youngest is a 4th grader at Henry Elementary. And it's our experience with our middle son that brings me here tonight. Our sweet William is an intelligent, curious, and hardworking 6th grader. When he was in kindergarten, he was almost on track in reading, but his teacher assured us that William was smart. It was just going to click. But in 1st grade, it still had not clicked. He was selected to participate in the Reading Recovery Program. Even with 30 minutes daily of one-on-one instruction, he was still not on track at the end of the year. His teacher said he was a great problem solver and that he worked very hard every day. She knew he was going to be just fine. In 2nd grade, we started to hear that William wasn't putting forth his best effort. If he would only focus and pay attention, he would be able to read. SSD finally agreed to test him. He didn't qualify for services, despite the fact that he has a high average IQ, and his teacher said he was the lowest performing child in her 2nd grade classroom. William was getting frustrated. He asked me, "Mom, what job can I do that I don't have to go to college, but I can still pay my bills?" To hear that from my 7-year-old was heartbreaking. I saw a Facebook infographic about dyslexia, and it fit my son. So I started to research. I learned that 20% of students need a structured, multisensory approach to reading. I have a master's in education. I knew nothing about the science of reading. I sat at home and cried as I made a list of 13 students that I personally had failed because I didn't know what I didn't know. We adored our Henry teachers. But they were not trained and they were not equipped to teach our son to read. We made the decision to send him to Churchill so that he could get the instruction he needed, and he is thriving. He no longer worries about going to college because he knows he can do it. Our Parkway teachers are doing the best that they can, just like I did when I was a teacher. Just like me, they don't know any better. Tonight, I'm asking you to take a step towards knowing better and a step towards doing better for our kids. A great place to start is by listening to the podcast that my friends here have mentioned, Sold a Story, which outlines why the programs that we are specifically using in Parkway right now are not working for 1 in 5 of our students. We all want Parkway students to be capable, curious, caring, and confident leaders who understand and can respond to the ever-changing world. They can't do that if they can't read. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next up is Allison Edwards.
Good evening. My name is Allison Edwards. I have been in the education field for 28 years. I hold a doctorate degree and for the past 15 years have served as a professor in education, special education at a local university. My position in the educational field aids me in understanding both how the system works and how to navigate within it. But what about the families who don't? I worry about the families that do not know the ins and outs of educational system, and all too often, they are the ones that fall through the cracks. My husband and I have 2 daughters in 3rd and 4th grade that until recently attended Parkway. We finally recognized their needs could not be met with the current structure and curriculum. We now attend Churchill Center and School. The experiences shared this evening are sadly very similar. And we are not the only ones with these situations, I guarantee you. Like so many others, we knew in kindergarten that our oldest was falling behind in reading, writing, and math. And shortly after, our younger were showing similar signs. After years of advocating, paying for outside tutors, navigating the system, and being told, no, your daughters do not have dyslexia, or they will grow out of it and catch up, we paid to have an educational evaluation. The results from the evaluation were heartbreaking and infuriating. After 3 years of fighting for effective educational supports, we found out both our daughters not only have dyslexia, but also learning disabilities in written expression, math, and reading. The current system failed our girls and family. We love our Parkway community and continue to support them, but know that things must change within the district as well as the special school district so that current and future families do not have an experience like ours. The district's big push for diversity, equity, and inclusion is important. However, we are failing to provide an adequate, or equitable, and inclusive education for all of our students. I thank you for your time and your service to our community.
Thank you very much. Okay, next up, may I please have a motion and a second to approve the agenda for the regular meeting of the Board of Education as scheduled for February 15th, 2023?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. The next regular board meeting will take place on Wednesday, March 15th, 2023, beginning at 7 p.m. here at the Parkway Welcome Center. 7 candidates have filed for the 3 open positions on the Parkway Board of Education. The candidates in order of filing and as their names will appear on the ballot are, and if you're here tonight, I welcome you to stand or raise your hand so you can be recognized. Jeff Todd, that's me. Ryan Kerr, Kathy Guerrera, Debbie Hopper, Mark Ivancic, Tiffany Mapp Franklin, and Matt Allen. The election is Tuesday, April 4th, 2023. The terms of Deborah Hopper, Tiffany Mapp Franklin, and Jeff Todd will expire in April 2023. The League of Women Voters of St. Louis is sponsoring a forum for candidates running for the Parkway Board of Education beginning at 7 p.m. on Monday, March 27th, right here in this room at the Parkway Welcome Center. Next up, I have 10.03, Board Superintendent Reports.
I'll just share 2 quick things. First off, it's nice to be back doing many more of these. Congratulations to students walking through for the various programs. It is nice to shake hands again after a good couple years off of that, so that is fun. And then also just we had a lot going on, but I'll share one other thing with the Teaching and Learning Subcommittee. Kevin, Jeffrey, and I met with them on Monday, And just the fact that I think during COVID too, we lost some of the sight on our personalized learning efforts in the district. That you had Sorrento Springs go ahead at the elementary level and bring in these choice programs both for parents and for kids to really kind of mold their education. And it's exciting now to see that Central Middle will be the next step in that process this coming fall. Where again, the students can still follow the legacy path, but now we have academies too. So a student and parents can work together and find a pathway for their education. So it's exciting to see this. I've had the opportunity to visit other schools that are bringing this into their districts too. So I'm glad to see it progress during COVID, and it's taken off now that we're past it. Thank you.
First off, I want to thank the students who made us delicious tacos and cookies. I can't make that at my house. They were delicious, and feel free to cater at my house whenever you're ready. February's been extremely busy. We had State of the District for many of you that were able to come. I thought it was an amazing, it was a great layout, great impact. I think a lot of people got information, whether good or bad. It's just very well done, so congratulations to Kevin and Tiffany who were big parts of that. As Matt mentioned, I was part of the TLA subcommittee where we talked about the academies, a little bit more on MSIP 6, as well as some of these new reading regulations that we are looking to implement and help out with. I was also part of the operations subcommittee where we talked about purchasing, invoicing, looking at a facilities task force, transportation review, and some other not as exciting things for everyone out here. Other than that, we've got more to go later this month. It's been, like I said, a busy month, and looking forward to the rest.
100 days. Those of us who have kindergartners, those of us who teach kindergarten, not me, but I have a kindergartner, know that the 100 day was just celebrated recently in the Parkway School District, and I'm sure across many districts. And I want to quote the boss, Bruce Springsteen, and say, it'll pass you by like a blink of an eye. And that's true. I'm firmly entrenched in the foothills of middle age, and time goes by so fast. Days, weeks, months, years, they just fly, fly, fly. But not to the kids. To kids, time goes by slowly. They mark time in chunks, weeks, months, semesters. And you know, you think about it, 100 days encompasses an entire semester, and then some a little bit. Entire sports seasons begin, run their course, and end. Lessons are learned through defeat and victory, and some championships, which we had come before us as a board here recently. Academic subjects are mastered, languages approaching some with fluency. Difficult coursework is accomplished, and all of this happens in 100 days. And then it keeps happening, it keeps happening. And the only reason I mention all this is because this little thing that my kindergartner brought home, this poster of 100 items that she put together, reminding us that 100 days had passed, just reminds me of all the hard work being done by all the teachers and administrators, all the learning being done by all the students, and all of it just keeps going and going and going. And just really proud of everybody affiliated with it and everybody here at Parkway. I want to say that tonight. Tiffany?
Thanks, Rob. That was good. So the past month, since our last board meeting, has been very busy. It feels like 100 days crammed into less than 30. January 20th, Mrs. Hopper and I were able to visit Sorrento Springs. That's one of our personalized learning schools, and we got to see their renovated first grade area and see how the students were operating in that area with the teachers. And it's amazing how those teachers had all of those kids. I think it was close to 40 kids in one big class, and they were all doing their own individualized tasking. And we got to see them when they were switching to lunchtime, and we got to see how organized. It's like, could you please come to my house and take care of my kids and get them to do these things? The kids cleaned up and they got ready, and they were all ready for lunch in just a matter of minutes. While we were there, we were there for another reason, and we just decided to look at that too. We were able to participate in the 4th and 5th graders government project, where they were they had visiting elected officials or past elected officials come and help them with their research on the government, the legislative, executive, and judicial branches. And it was a great opportunity to talk to those fourth and fifth graders to find out what they've learned so far in that area, and then also to give them some feedback on what they've been able to research. And then also during that visit, we checked out the cafeteria. We know Chartwell's has been pretty new to our district, and we wanted to check out the different cafeterias and see how things were going. I will say that I thought, at least at Sorrento Springs, they have a pretty good lunch. I had mac and cheese and a turkey dog. It was great. I also had a salad, so it wasn't just junk food. So that was a really good opportunity. So that was one of the first things that we did. I did a lot of school visits in the span of a week. So that was the first one. The second one was North High, where we also checked out their cafeteria, had a chance to eat with some of the students and Mr. Jones, the principal. And we definitely could see there were some differences between what elementary and what high school gets. And I think that's something that we'll probably talk a little bit about at some point as well. But that was a good visit as well. And then on the 27th, I had an opportunity to visit Fern Ridge, which is another one of our choice programs. Dr. Power is the principal there, and she is doing amazing things with the kids that are in that program. There's about 100 students that are in that program, and they are on a more personalized approach to learning, definitely non-traditional to the other high schools. February 4th, I attended the All-District Elementary Choir concert. That was so cute. There were over 200 kids in this place. I mean, it was like a little army of fifth graders. Oh gosh, so many of them. They did they did an amazing job, and the teachers did an amazing job of wrangling all those kids throughout the day. So. And then finally, February 11th, I got to attend the fourth grade strings concert. That brought back memories of when I was playing the violin and viola, and they did an amazing job with that as well. So I've been busy throughout the district. That was not even talking about all the work that we do within the board, but it's been a great and busy past month, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the next 30 days go.
Highways are jammed with broken heroes on a last chance power drive. I didn't want Rob to be the only one that quoted Springsteen tonight. It's been a really busy month, I think, as board members. My colleagues have touched on a lot of these things, but we had the State of the District night, which I thought was really informative. I think it was really engaging with the community. I think it was well attended, and I think we did a good job of kind of showcasing as a district things we're doing well, and also not shying away from places we're coming up short and things we can do to improve. In that same vein, we don't generally respond to citizen comments, but I just want to let you all know that we do appreciate your input, and we feel what you're saying, and you can tell it's from the heart, and we really take that sort of input to heart. We also last week, I can't remember anymore, but we had union negotiations, which as a school board we're not necessarily involved in the nitty-gritty of the negotiations with the teachers union, but we attend certain events, and we sort of we're not involved in the negotiations, but we observe, and I think it's really, really helpful for us as board members to learn more about the things that matter to our teachers, and also about some of the limitations and some of the things we can do as a district. And I think we're all better for taking part in this, and I come away from those experiences with a great appreciation for the work our teachers are doing, as well as for the work our administrators are doing and working with the teachers to help them to accomplish what we all need to accomplish. It's nice to see that those things can take place, and that as a district, I think we're stronger for it. And of course, I want to close by talking about the taco and cookie night. there's some bright spots in this job, but none shine brighter than taco and cookie night for the school board's perspective. And I just want to congratulate my alma mater, Parkway North, on coming home with the taco championship tonight. So well done, everyone.
So I'm not going to repeat some of the other things that I had attended with my colleagues, but also on January the 24th, I attended a PTO leadership meeting by Zoom. This was a meeting that brings together all of the various different PTOs throughout the district and talked about bylaws and some schools, specifically with their PTOs. And so some schools do a better job of reviewing their bylaws, but it's important information and activity that takes place so that all of our PTOs are operating in a well manner. And then also State of the District address, which, you know, a lot of work went into that. Kevin Beckner, Tiffany, Beth Holman, thank you so much. Dr. Marty for championing the board's request to do that State of the District address. As Kevin said here too, it was important to the district not to shy away from some of the unfortunate circumstances that we're facing, and we will be addressing that, especially in the next 18 months when we're putting together our CSIP and our MSIP and our 5-year strategic plan. But we did all feel, and Dr. Marty championed this cause, that we don't shy away from it. If you don't step up to the problems, you can't address them, and they need to be addressed and fixed. We also went to, on February the 7th, Parkway had a district-wide safety and security workshop that Paul Tandy, Paul's here, oversaw all of that. I was very impressed with it. It brought together all of our EMS departments, our police departments, fire departments, to talk about safety and security within the Parkway School District. So unfortunately, in these times that we're seeing, just the other day at Michigan State University with some of these mass shootings, it's very important that we stay on top of this, that we look at what our procedures and practices are, and that we try the very best that we can to ensure the safety of everyone. We also, on February the 9th, I attended, along with Mr. Todd, the mayor and city administrators meeting at the Manchester Government Center that hosted by Mike Clement, the mayor of Manchester, which was a wonderful event to get together with our legislators and our various different municipalities, Chesterfield, Baldwin, all the various different demographics that Parkway serves, so that they can hear about what's happening in Parkway, we can hear about what's going on in their municipalities, and talk about taxes and lack of taxes, and some of the different legislation that's taking place with that. So that was a very important meeting, and I was pleased to have attended that. Operations Subcommittee also, and then also on February the 11th, I also went to the 4th grade district-wide strings concert, and I have to say, that was so fun, finally getting back, and I didn't realize how much I had missed in-person concerts and activities like that until you walk in at West High Gymnasium. If you've ever been into there, it was standing room only. It was packed. And then to see all these kiddos in the middle, and they were all excited. They all looked like they were having a ball rather than being scared or nervous. They were excited and having fun. So that was just a wonderful experience. So really happy to see that get back. And then the other day, on February 13th, attended the Health Advisory Committee meeting, which was virtual, with Diane Brown, who leads our health care throughout the district, and then the advisory committee that they put together with some with physicians that are known to the district, and talking about a variety of different health matters surrounding the district, and so that was well attended and very brief, but a nice way to touch base on some of the policies that are taking place regarding healthcare in our district.
And I won't reiterate all the most of the things that I attended with a number of my fellow board members. I will say when Tiffany and I got to participate, or not participate, but enjoy the the all-district choir. We were greeted, or it was kicked off by the Central High concert choir. They sang just a couple of numbers before the kids, the main act, took the stage. So that was great. We appreciate them being here. I too want to add my thanks to Kevin and Tiffany and their entire team, which consisted of lots of different administrators, even teachers and directors of departments. So many people went into making that night a success, and I think, as Kevin pointed out, there was good information, there was challenging information. We know there's other challenges in the district, but this is a good step that we think is important to take, so that everybody's on the same page, so we all understand what those challenges are, and it will help us collaborate more effectively to figure out how to tackle those challenges. I also want to mention, I attended the Alliance for Healthy Communities. I think it's a quarterly meeting. Got to meet our new director of that, Christy Scoville. She has some great background in that arena, and she brings a lot of ideas. One of the things that they do, you may have heard of it, is a group called Stand Up 9, and it's a group of ninth graders throughout the district that they, I think it's like 80 or 100 kids every year that they identify, and they take through this basically a freshman leadership academy, and they're really responsible for trying to instill good choices, social choices among their peers. It's open to students who are in 8th grade right now who are rising 9th graders this fall. So if anyone knows of an 8th grader who might fit that bill, let me know, or Dr. Eddie Madison. And then what I'm trying to, I've got everything, almost everything on my list has been touched on. We do value the input that we get every single day, whether it's from people speaking, whether it's from people emailing or calling us. We do appreciate the feedback, and we've gotten some marvelous feedback from the State of the District event, and we're looking forward to continuing to dissect that and figure out how best to move forward. And I will turn it over to Dr. Marty, but not before I wish him a happy Wisconsin Day.
Today's Wisconsin Day.
Today's
Whoa.
Wisconsin.
Surprised we have a meeting.
Thank you very much. Well, so much was covered, and board members, thank you so much. I mean, you covered really the busy time we've had, and thank you for getting out to the schools and supporting everything you said. I'll just fill in a couple things. We have, I think, 50 to 60 swimmers, girls participating in our state swim meet, which takes place this starting tomorrow at St. Peter's, and I know Angie and John from the two high schools have a lot of swimmers. Corey Johnson tells me that we have a couple teams that might win the state championship, and you may in the fall we've had the boys teams who finished first and third, so looking forward to that. Also want to mention, Amy is still here, Trades Day at West High School on Friday. What time does that start, Amy? Be unfortunately out of town, but if you're interested, please give that consideration. A number of students have signed up, and we'll have a number of representatives from the trades industries present. We did that last year at Fern, had a great kickoff, and we're going to do it again this year. And really appreciate Amy's leadership, as well as Amber Rice, whose husband unfortunately passed away a couple years ago. They've started a foundation in his memory. He was in the trades, in the painting business, and what a great way to salute his memory. I rode buses on Friday. I talk about getting kind of back. I love riding buses, and I have to say, people laugh about that. But it was wonderful, and what's really kind of neat is to see our drivers. We've had a shortage, and see some of our new drivers as well. I drove with one lady who's been a bus driver since 2010, and so just to see their dedication and commitment to getting kids to and from school safely. We're still watching the legislature daily, and I will say the board is going to participate on March 3rd in a legislative breakfast, along with Pattonville, Rockwood, and the special school district. It'll be at Rockwood, hosted at Rockwood, and we'll get a chance. Hopefully, a number of legislators will make the effort to show up, and we can talk a little bit about the legislation on the table. And there's a lot to talk about there. Yesterday, we finished applications, or recommendations, I should say, or recommendations for folks for Pillar of Parkway and Light of Parkway, which will be honored. Those, not all the people, but the ones who are selected eventually for the awards will be recognized in April at the appreciation night. And I saw a preview today of the list, wonderful recommendations of people who deserve to be at least nominated, if not selected, for those awards. And I too want to just, I enjoyed the fourth grade strings. Tiffany said she's going to perform next year, I think, because she said she's going to bring out. But it was a wonderful, I agree, it was wonderful to see all the parents and grandparents back. So again, thanks so much for board members and you're getting out and supporting the students and staff in a very busy time of the year. We've had a lot of activity and more to come. Thank you, Jeff.
Indeed. Yep. Thank you. Next, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented in the February 15th, 2023 board materials?
So moved.
Second.
Is there anything to be pulled to action or closed? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 7-0. Next up, I would like to invite, well, apparently I'm inviting Kevin Beckner to join now.
A Wisconsin Day treat.
I'm just following the schedule. Next up, I'd like to invite Megan Schultz, our EL lead teacher, and Kevin Beckner, Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning, for a brief presentation prior to a board motion and vote.
Well, thank you very much, President Todd, Vice President Hopper, members of the board, Dr. Marty, Mrs. Stover. Last school year, we were pleased to conduct an evaluation of Parkway's program to serve our English learners. As a reminder, Parkway serves about a little over 1,200 English learners. That's about 7% of our total population, and we have over 80 languages spoken in Parkway. One of the items identified as in need of evaluation through that process was an update to our LOU plan. And some in the audience might be thinking, what in the world is a LOU plan? So Megan Schultz, our fantastic EL lead teacher, is going to tell you a little bit about what that is before you consider the plan that's been presented.
All right. Good evening. Thank you for being here and taking some time to learn about our LOU plan. Like Dr. Beckner said, what is a LOU plan? The LOU plan is a federally required document that shows how we're appropriately serving our English language learners. It's a place that houses our goals, our guidelines, our procedures for how we operate and do all things in support of our language learners here in the Parkway District. It's our general plan for cooperation between the district, our buildings, our EL specialists and staff regarding how we support the students throughout the district. And then I'll mention some key features that you've had some time to review and what that looks like. So in our LOU plan, we talk about our process for identification, exiting, and monitoring our process of our English learners, how that takes place all the way from the beginning to the end, how we staff to support those students, and what their qualifications and educations and certifications are to make sure those students are having strong English role models and their needs are being met here in Parkway. We talk about our programs that we offer, the delivery models, and ways that might look kindergarten through 12th grade, depending on students' needs. This LOU plan document helps us show that we are having our students and families have meaningful access to all of our programs here in Parkway, that they're able to participate in after-school activities, special programs, our plans for communication with our multilingual families, and how we help them communicate back with us. And it also, a big piece of that is we evaluate our effectiveness of our program to make sure that we're doing all that we can to help our students be successful. So that gives you a little bit of what is a LOU plan and what it houses. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer those for you this evening.
How often are we renewing this?
Great question. So we'd like to bring it to you moving forward. We'd like to bring it to you each year or any time that we have a change that needs to be made. But our teacher leadership team will be reviewing it annually and updating any changes that we may need.
what types of changes would you foresee?
Good question. So as our numbers and student needs continue to grow, I would like to see an increase in our staffing around our teachers who have EL certification. That could be gen ed teachers who are getting their EL certification to better support the students in their classroom. That could be more English language specialists or different positions within the district to support those students. So if we could make recommendations in there, we could look about how we are supporting our students, our delivery model. If we would like to get focused more into a co-teaching, if that's a service which we do use now, how we could support that greater with more staff. As our language needs change, we'll be able to change how we're communicating with families. So over the past few years, our top 5 languages have been Spanish, Arabic, Mandarin, Chinese, Hindi, and Telugu. However, after some review of our programs and working with our families, we realized that we now have an increase in the language need of Ukrainian and Portuguese. And so now those will take the top 2 of our Hindi and Telugu. We're no longer be in our top 5. We'll add those 2 new ones because that's based on what families have shared with us that they need. So that's how we're going to support them. So things like that.
So I have a question. So with over 80 languages, how do you account for that? Like, are there translators for all of those different languages? How are we doing that?
Great question. So we have a partnership with a service here in St. Louis called LAMP, where we're able to get translation through written translation, over the phone. I want to say Skype, that's not even a thing anymore. But, you know, online. And so we contract out with them to get those services for different languages needed here in St. Louis.
One question that I have, when I had visited one of the schools that does the English language learners program, one of the big topics that came up was identifying learning disabilities in that group of students, and how do you recognize, is it a language barrier issue or is it a learning disability issue? And so how would this plan address matters like that?
Wonderful. Well, there is a section in the LAO plan about how all of our students have equal access to programs such as special services, reading support, gifted, after-school activities, so that no language learning student is going to be left out of those opportunities. They're going to have the same testing and diagnostics that any other student would through our problem-solving, progress monitoring throughout in each individual building.
Would that be in English or in their native language?
Great question. So typically, if it goes to the point of needing an evaluation, then we do testing in both English and their native language and compare those scores.
Megan, I'm going to ask a question every time
Absolutely.
you come. It's because I know you're here and you're busy with families. It's not slowing down, right? The 1,220
we
is
had,
not.
I believe, about 6 new EL families this week, which is a lot for February. So I met with a wonderful family from Saudi Arabia today. Tomorrow we have Venezuela and Mexico. So business is booming.
Yeah. I think, again, I think you've showed this in the past. I mean, that 1220, just 7 years ago was about half that number. So we continue to grow the numbers. And I think you're doing a marvelous job, but I agree on the staffing issue and the concerns and how we continually have to try to support the students and families. But certainly we participate with the OASIS, and we'll get a lot of our immigrants are recommended for Parkway.
I love it. Parkway's a great place to be, and our families want to come.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we're happy to be able to support them and hope to continue to do better as time goes on.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you both very much.
All right. Thanks so much. Have a good night.
Next, may I have a motion and a second that the Board of Education approve the Parkway LAO plan as submitted by the EL leadership team.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 7-0. We have no policy review tonight, no official reports. However, we do have a work session, and good thing Dr. Kevin Beckner didn't go very far because he's up along with Dr. Holman Bess.
to discuss our comprehensive school improvement plan.
Well, thank you very much. Excited to engage in the first of several work sessions with the board around our Comprehensive School Improvement Plan, or CSIP. A CSIP identifies the district priorities for the upcoming school year. And for many, many years, as long as I've been in Parkway, our schools and district departments have written CSIPs every year in support of an alignment to the district strategic plan, which is currently Project Parkway 2.0. This year, in response to our current reality, changes in accountability, which we heard earlier, MSIP 6, which is the Missouri School Improvement Program, the 6th version, and recognizing our need to be more aligned in all of our efforts, we're bringing the CSIP process under the umbrella of Project Parkway, and Tiffany's going to share a little bit more about that.
Sorry, Kevin. I just need it a little higher. Good evening again, board. So as you know, we've started our work on Project Parkway, kicked it off with State of the District. And so I want to just go through a couple of, whoops, wrong way. There we go. Just a little bit of a timeline of where we are in this process. And so if you take a look at this slide again outlines our 3 objectives associated with Project Parkway 3.0. Here in this section, Objective 1, by the end of this school year, June of 2023, we will be bringing to you for approval our CSIP, or for 23-24 school year, sorry. And this is where we'll be developing our priorities going into next school year. And so we started a little bit of that work with State of the District when we shared our current reality with the public and then elicited feedback across 5 key areas. We also, if you remember back to the December workshop, we talked about vision sets. During that workshop, we took a look at several graduate profiles in hopes of giving us a starting point or a context of how we view our learners and our system as a district, as well as the staff and adults who are serving our students in the system. And so over the next 18 months, we'll be looking at coming up with these vision sets in hopes of bringing that to you in December of 2023. And perhaps the most significant piece of Project Parkway 3.0 is the development of our 5-year plan. All of our strategic plans are long-term and with short-term increments in between. And so an example of a short-term would be our development of our CSIP for next school year. We'll review our CSIP annually as part of the 5-year plan, but the goal here is by June of 2024, you would be approving a long-term strategic plan over the next 5 years. As you know, DESE does have requirements across all parts of education for the district. And so we have outlined a few of the DESE requirements here on this slide. One of those requirements for our CSIP is that it contains a limited number of focus goals and objectives. It was developed in meaningful collaboration with internal and external stakeholders. An example of that would be the State of the District. It will also be some of the forms we'll begin having next fall. It's based upon data-based needs assessment and drives leaders and teachers in the development and implementation of academic instruction. So I want to stay focused on that first bullet point there, and I'm gonna, Kevin, can you hand me my box? We have a prop tonight. So some of the work we've been doing with our leaders surrounds this idea of what actually goes into the CSIP and how we determine those priorities. So we started a little bit of that work with State of the District when we had our current reality displayed as a listening tour for the public. And then we collected data on Post-it notes in the form of questions and feedback. And so what happens is you have this big box of things, right? This is the work of the district. But what we need to do is get down to a limited number of focus priorities and objectives. And so all of that exists in this box. But here's the thing. Some of the work we do is here, but it's not seen. It's necessary for the organization to run. And then there are things that have higher priorities that are also sometimes invisible, but also necessary to prop the work. When we get down to the nuts and bolts of the CSIP, what we're really talking about is anything that we are making transparent that we know is necessary for the work to get done on behalf of students and staff in our community. And so when we have this small, tiny bag, it really is determining what is getting done and what is getting focused on It doesn't mean that the things in the box in the other bag are not happening. They are actually having great deal of support of the things that are happening in the bag when we talk about our priorities and limited number of them in order for us to effectively serve our students.
So as we think about that, we are bringing tonight the first round of an opportunity for you all as the board to give us some input and ask questions to help us along this process. And what we're going to show you tonight has already been through multiple groups. So we've mentioned multiple times we had State of the District. We had the chance to view current reality around some of our key areas. Following that, we had what we're calling a leadership meeting. All of our principals, directors, coordinators, curriculum folks, student service folks, operations folks came together. We actually read through all of those Post-it notes that were on those boards, and if you were there that night, there were a lot. And so we spent quite a bit of time actually reading through our community's feedback, and at the end of that night, we had participants complete a Google form trying to identify some of those key priorities. So we read through all of that together and had our leaders who were there that evening, and thank you, President Todd, for recognizing the many, many people who supported that event. We had those leaders create summaries and share with everyone so we could hear what are those key things. And then we had leaders, based on all that information, start to begin identifying what do you think should be key things in our next CSIP. We then have a smaller group. Obviously, that's about 100 people. That's a big group. It's really hard to get down to brass tacks in a group that large. So we have another group that's a subset of that, the strategic planning group, that really takes then that input from the leaders, looks it through, and says, okay, here's what we're seeing as some of those key themes to start identifying what might go into the small bag, our limited number of focused priorities. Then we had our public input. One of the things Dr. Holman Best said was that we have to have input from a variety of stakeholders, internal and external. So in addition to the State of the District, our steering committee includes members of the public, members of the community, parents, other folks to give input in that process. So all four of those events and groups have served to get us where we are tonight. Which is bringing to you this first of multiple work sessions around the CSIP. So that we can start to get your input as a board as to what the priorities might need to be. Just so you know the sort of path to get to June, when we hope to bring a CSIP for your consideration and a vote. We do have another work session next month in March. We have one in April. We have our spring board workshop, which we have annually. And then we hope to bring a CSIP along with our action plans for next school year for your consideration in June so that we can ensure that we have good plans in place for the start of next school year. So that's kind of the process, and tonight really is about your input. We'll be taking notes and listening to your thoughts. But first I'm going to share what are these 5 things that we're bringing tonight for your initial input and feedback on. And certainly because we have multiple conversations, this should not be considered final or this is where we are, but we're really interested in hearing from you all tonight. So these preliminary priority areas, the first one would be ensuring the social and emotional well-being of all of our students. So that's everything from mental health, ensuring that our students are well, taking care of them emotionally in addition to their academic well-being. The second one is ensuring all of our students are achieving through progress monitoring. And by progress monitoring, we mean how are we sure that all of our students are learning? When they're not learning, how are we bringing resources and practices to bear to close any gaps that they have, and ensuring that we have a consistent process in every single school so that we can ensure that all of our students are getting their academic needs met in Parkway. Our third one is one that we've talked a lot about over the years, but ensuring that we have an equitable system that is serving all of our students, not just some of our students. We also, in that process, want to ensure that we have a staff that represents our community. One of the pieces we saw at State of the District is that we're not yet there on that one, but that surfaced as a potential preliminary priority area. And our final one is ensuring that all of our staff has quality professional learning to ensure that they can meet the needs of all of our students. So while the board is giving input, asking questions, giving us your feedback, we'll leave this one up so you can view that. With that, I'll turn it over to you as the board to see what comments, questions, or thoughts you might have.
Well, thank you very much. I will start just because a couple things popped into my head as you were talking. in both of them, kind of 2018 is when we started the conversation about social and emotional well-being, and we convened the mental health task force, and that's been such a worthwhile endeavor, and provided so many resources and discussions, and carried us forward. So I would say for that first one, we've talked about it before, about reconvening the mental health task force, or at least some subset of them to look at where we've been these last 5 years, and how we're doing. Are we measuring the right kinds of things to determine how far we've come, and where do we still need to go? What areas do we still need? Also, in the 2018-2019 school year, it was reminded us tonight, we have a serious problem with dyslexia in the state of Missouri, in the country. And it became law that we had to put certain measures in place during that school year. And we've talked about it maybe once or twice since then. But I think as part of your achievement and progress monitoring, I think that would be a very good thing to be looking at, in addition to many of the other areas that we monitor progress with our students. So those are two things that jump right out at me.
I'm sorry. Since I sit on the steering committee with Mr. Todd, one thing that I just want to bring up about, first of all, I'd like to ask, how will you be using the feedback that you got from that steering committee? Because I think there were some important pieces of information that goes into this discussion here that we haven't delved into yet. So I would like to know what you're going to be doing with that. But I think also under this achievement through progress monitoring area, the topic that came up that I feel pretty strongly about is that we can monitor progress all we want, but if we don't take action on it, what good is it? So I'm going to keep probably delivering that message. We need to take action, not just monitor stuff. We've got a lot of monitoring. We know where we're at. And then I think the other issue with that is instead of ensuring equity for all, we talked about the idea of equity for each student, because we want to look at each student individually and do what needs to be done for them rather than as a collective group of students. And then I'd like to get more information also on the idea of ensuring quality PD for all. I mean, that's, what does that mean, and who's all, and how did that bubble up to the priority area here, so we can understand that a little bit better too.
And actually, that's a good segue to my question about, it was more on the PD as well. You know, quality is one thing, but is it relevant to what is going on currently and in the future? I mean, we should be anticipating what's going on in the future more than, as what is going on right now is something we need to tackle. But, it's more, let's not just keep it now, let's look to the future, so we're not trying to figure it out later. But really with that PD, quality is great as long as it's relevant and what is needed. So just something to keep in mind.
I guess I have a little bit of a process question, and it might be putting the cart before the horse, but once we all sort of coalesce around the things that go into the little small Ziploc snack bag, what's the process like for turning that into sort of an actionable goal that meets the DESI requirements that you referenced earlier? Sort of something sort of taking the shape of a SMART goal.
I'll just add in too, kind of with my earlier comments too, like where does personalized learning fall in all this? That's kind of direction we're heading. So within these priority areas, where we kind of looking ahead to the future, where we want to go.
So we can address some of the process questions just because I think that would help clarify some of these things. So for example, to know like where does steering fit, how do we turn this into actionable plans, sort of what's the overall process. So this obviously it's a cyclical process. We're involving multiple groups of stakeholders over and over again. It's sort of a feedback loop. So this is the culmination of that first sort of round where we saw our leadership's involved, our steering committee's involved, and then we come to the board. And then we'll take all the information from all those groups and we'll take that back and start the process over again where we make revisions. And so next month when we're here, it's very likely that some of these will have changed or evolved, including some of the information to your question, Ms. Hopper, about the steering committee, and also from the leadership group and this work session. So we'll keep iterating that process so that we can get to a really good product at the end. Our current CSIP includes about 24 items, which challenges that notion of a limited number of focused objectives because there's 24 of them. But part of this process is then identifying what of those are actually current implementation items versus, to your question, Mr. Schindler, we're developing this for future implementation versus this is something we've done before and we're now revising and tuning that. With each of those 24 items, there's an action plan associated with that of how do we turn that into action. And the concept is that if it ends up in the CSIP, it has to have an associated action plan. It can't get in the CSIP if there's not a plan associated with it. So that we can ensure that we're turning those concepts into action, whether that's future action or current action to be implemented. We also tie these directly with our schools. So this isn't just a district CSIP, but in June, Dr. Holman-Best is actually, you want to talk about the all admin process?
So in June, when we have all of our administrators together, they will be going through similar processes. And so part of what we're doing as we train our leadership team is modeling what they will be doing and looking at their own local data and then aligning to the district CSIP. And so currently they do this. However, when you think about our current CSIP and we say the number 24 plans, that's really hard for schools to align to and have very specific direction and targets that they are supposed to hit. And so in June, we'll be taking a look at a school-based planning, bringing their entire administrative teams together by area so that we not only have like a school-based plan, but we also understand what is happening in the area and what those individual needs. Getting back to the point, I think someone made of addressing each student, and so we do that at the school level, and they will be beginning their building of their CSIP to be implemented in August. And so those plans and that training is happening with principals now. When you hear us say the leadership meeting, they are sitting cross-department, cross-district, and so the supports are in the room with them as they are beginning to formulate the ideas of how to bring this work to fruition down at the school level. Again, we do expect their plans to mirror the district plan, understanding that there will be some personalization and individualization based on local school data and their needs for each of their students.
So a question I have is, so we're including the CSIP as part of Project Parkway, which is a 5-year strategic plan. Are we looking at Project Parkway as the overarching, and then our CSIP is kind of like how we're meeting our Project Parkway plan? Is that what we're planning to do?
That's correct. And so part of the 5-year strategic plan is an annual review of the CSIP. So if you're thinking about this in terms of iterations, we're in 3.0, and then we'll be in 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, 3.4, 3.5. Essentially fine-tuning and making adjustments each year based on data, feedback, and input from the community, because that's necessary as part of a 5-year strategic plan. A strategic plan is meant to be reviewed with its annual pieces each year and not just to sit and then come back to it over the course of 5 years. So we will be making adjustments each year as we go to our annual CSIP.
Any other questions or thoughts we can address here in our first work session? Otherwise, we will certainly be back with you next month, and certainly we'll see some of you on the steering committee as well.
I'll just ask one more question because it's going to stick with me if I don't ask it. Under ensuring quality PD for all, well, I guess really within each one of these diamonds, are you going to be digging deeper then into what becomes actionable within each of those? So if we're looking at professional development, we'll look at it from what's needed from a curricular standpoint, what's needed from a social emotional standpoint, et cetera, and then have action plans associated with each of those.
Correct. In fact, one of our objectives in this process is to have like a district PD plan, which is not something that we've had comprehensively across the district, but trying to align our professional development plan specifically to our CSIP so that we can ensure that if we're saying this is a priority item, that we have development aligned to those items so that we can make sure because you can't ask somebody to implement something they don't know. So we have to make sure that we're growing them and making sure that everybody is able to implement the things that are in the CSIP.
I think it's fair to say, Kevin, that we have a wonderful and rich PD menu. But the question is it really focused on the things that we really want our staff to, whether it's literacy, whether it's, content area, mental health, or whatever. So we have rich, but maybe we got to get more focus with our PD.
Great question, thank you.
Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have no special meeting tonight, so may I have a motion and a second to adjourn the regular meeting?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you for your attendance, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next month.